Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Strip Club Talk with Jade and Danny. That is Jade over there. How are you, dear?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am excellent. We got a little serious on our last episode when we
Mhm.
talked a little bit about sex trafficking and human trafficking. So I wanted to get a little lighter this week and talk about feature entertainers in strip clubs. And I've probably worked with about 200 plus feature performers in my lifetime and my career. And I have done so many podcasts with feature entertainers and with owners and talked about the advantages of bringing feature entertainers into your club and which ones to go with and things. But I was starting to think I have never done a podcast or a show or any type of interview with a house entertainer on the effect that features have on house entertainers, because I can imagine some house entertainers like them and some house entertainers don't like them. So
hmm
does that sound like something we could talk about today?
Definitely sounds like something we can talk about.
Good. Well, I think the first thing for those tuning in may not know exactly what a feature performer is. And there are a couple of different types of feature performers, two different categories. You have your porn stars. Obviously, we know what a porn star is, but there are certain porn stars that also travel the country and do club shows.
hmm
Not their porn on stage, hopefully, but
Right.
they perform, and a lot of the fans travel from all over, and they want to come in and see them perform on stage and get pictures with them and things like that. So the porn stars are generally more for the customer, more to bring in customers, and then there's the other type of feature performer, and that is the showgirls. Those are the girls that do the competitions, like the Entertainer of the Year competitions, Miss Nude
hmm
World competitions, things like that. And they have crazy outfits and really well put together shows, and they travel around. That is a little more geared toward the entertainer.
hmm
And I think Jerry Westland, a good friend of mine who owns the Pony Club chains, he told me one time the reason he brings in feature performers, showgirl feature performers, is because it kind of motivates his in-house girls and gives them something to say, man, I want to try that trick. I want to learn how to do that trick, things like that.
hmm
Because like I said, those showgirls are good on the pole, they're good on the lyra, they're good on, well, just about everything. So
Right.
um, really, I guess I want to come to you first, and you've been an entertainer in the club for many feature performances.
Oh yeah.
What's your take, and do you think there's a difference between showgirls and porn stars as far as the house entertainer goes?
So for me specifically, I don't think I've actually ever gotten the opportunity to see an actual showgirl. It's always
Oh,
just been the porn stars coming in.
mm-hmm,
Um, I want to say there might have been a club out of town that I was at several years ago where there might have been a showgirl, but it was like my first night and I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that they had a feature and I just kind of rolled with it.
mm-hmm,
Um, so I've not been able to see the difference. But me personally, I don't mind um, when they come in. I know that it's something that is going to bring all kinds of different clientele, and I'm definitely fascinated. So I would like to see the other option. I know I've just seen the porn stars coming in, and I've always been impressed by knowing their career, knowing what they do for a living, and
mm-hmm,
seeing them actually take the stage is very impressive. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, they're not a dancer, so what exactly are they going to do?
mm-hmm,
But they always, they go above and beyond my expectations every time.
mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't put on. I shouldn't say they, because I'm going to categorize them all. There are some porn stars that can put on one hell of a show. First one that comes to my mind, and she's not touring anymore, is Bonnie Rotten, who is actually from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
And Bonnie, I originally worked with Bonnie. She was a house girl, one of my house entertainers at the Harem. And right when
Oh,
she turned 18, she came in. So I got to watch her career blossom. And I mean, she was already a good club performer, good pole worker, good showgirl before she got into adult film. So I think that really, really helped her when she got
okay.
out on her career. But you're right. They don't put on quite the show that a showgirl does. But I will say that they do bring in a lot of new faces. And there are a couple ways from a house girl a house girl's perspective, how you can do that. You just said you don't mind them because they bring in new people.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard stories from other entertainers that have said, "Oh my God, I'm not working"? And everybody says they're only here to see her.
Yes, I definitely, you can hear the buzz going on in the dressing room when there is a featured weekend coming up. And you've got just about every opinion you could think of. And there are definitely several girls like myself who we don't mind because we know it's bringing a whole new load of new faces to the club and people that we can potentially um, just get to come back another time. But
Hmm.
I definitely have heard so many girls just like, it's going to be so dead. People that are coming in are just here for her. And oh my gosh, all they do is sit down and take up space and blah, 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 blah. And I think sometimes what they're missing when they think of all of those negative things is that you can turn what you think may be a customer who's just there to take a seat or to sit down into a returning customer. You never know who you're talking to.
Hmm.
And I know that we discussed this before we started the show. Obviously, a lot of times when a feature is coming in, they're charging more at that door anyway.
Hmm.
So when that person is coming in there to see that specific entertainer, they're definitely, I mean, they're going to make it worth their while. So
Hmm.
obviously there is other entertainment there also, and they know that coming in. So it's our job. I mean, really, you're not doing your job if you think that they're just wasting space and they're not um, doing anything. You
Hmm.
know, that kind of goes back to another one of our videos that we had done previously with learning how to communicate with that customer when you sit down and, you know, get them to strike an interest in you.
Hmm.
And maybe, you could let them know like, hey, the girl or the entertainer you're here to see is definitely going to be on tonight. I know you're here to see her, but by the way, she won't be on for about an hour. So you've definitely got some time to kill. Would you like to get a dance in the meantime?
Hmm.
So you definitely have so many opportunities to turn those negative thoughts around.
Yeah, definitely try to find out what the show times are.
Hmm.
And that's a hard thing to do because so many clubs they'll say, yeah, well, it's 9 and 11 and 1 or something like that, and they have no intention on doing those times. I when I'm actually running the show and the club and stuff, I am right on time. I mean, you'll say, we're going to try to get the show on around this time, this time, this time, but you know what time you're going to have that show on, and
Hmm.
your entertainers need to know what time that show is going on. Now things can push it back, obviously,
Hmm.
but you're right. If you can go, the more you know about the feature and the feature show, and the guy comes in and says, well, let's just use Bonnie Rotten for an example because we've already brought her up. Guy comes in, you walk up, and no, I'm just here to see Bonnie Rotten show. That's when you go, oh man, she's an amazing, amazing performer, man. I can't wait to see her show either. And from what I hear, it's going on, right about in about an hour. And that's kind of another way you can lead into that. Keep talking good about them,
Hmm.
and I hopefully she's available for pictures later because I really want to get a picture with her and just build them up
Right.
into into something great. Like you're a fan too, and then you've got
Hmm.
something to talk about in common.
Right.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. That's great that you brought that up. You never want to talk negative about the person they're there to see. That's the
Right.
100% worst thing you could do. You definitely want to be positive, talking about, even if you've never met her and you don't know who she is, but you've heard all about her. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've never seen her.
Mm-hmm.
I hear all these great things, and like you said, maybe I'd love to go get a picture with her as well. Those are
Yeah.
all great things you can do.
And actually, then that customer might get in line with you to get the picture, and they may pay
Right.
for your cut
And
of
then,
it.
yeah.
So, let's go back to that negative side where some people say, "I never make money on feature nights."
Hmm.
And my thought is, if you're not making money on feature nights, there's a couple of reasons. One, because you're coming in with that mentality,
Yes.
I'm not going to make money on feature night. Or two, you can be too much of a fangirl and,
Hmm.
kind of forget that your main reason is to make money while you're there. Unless you really just want to spend your night, meeting this girl.
Hmm.
But yes, any tips on what to go out of your way on feature nights? Is there maybe something different that you do on feature nights?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, Me in particular, I have had a few times when there was a feature there that I had. I don't even know if I've had any pictures taken because the line's always long and I'm always busy and I'm always lining up what's coming next for me. Because I do think about that. I
Hmm.
know that sometimes it can seem like more of a challenge to make money only because in your head you're you're thinking that there are um how do I put this? It's kind of in your mind. I think almost every one of us comes in like there's a hurdle, to jump
Hmm.
over because there is somebody there that's very important and people are there to see. So you kind of get that in the back of your mind. You try to push out the negative side of it and you think about how can I make this night most efficient. And so for me, I I will sometimes go up there and kind of mingle and get to meet and greet or something like that. Or if I see her backstage, oh, it's nice to meet you, kind of get out of the way then.
Hmm.
So I don't have to like spend an extra time in line and doing that when I know I'm there to be at work. So I use my time when she's busy and after she's done her stage performances to go backstage and do the things I would be doing throughout the night, like get some water, some food, freshen up my makeup and my hair so that I am ready when the people who have already seen her are coming back down the steps to mingle back into the crowd.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times people relax and they loosen up a little bit more once her first show has gone on, because you've got that customer that has been waiting hours to finally
Hmm.
see that first show and they get to see her and they're like, okay, cool, I can't wait to see her next show. But now I feel somewhat satisfied because I've seen her once. So then
Hmm.
that's my time to kind of swoop in and I want to be ready. So I like to take those moments of kind of breaks, if you will, where a lot of girls would see that as downtime and that being like loss of money or however you call
Hmm.
it. But I use that to my advantage.
Yeah, that's good points in there. I was just thinking of something as you were talking, and it slipped my mind. So we're going to talk about the difference between porn stars and showgirls. As you said, you haven't worked with many showgirls, so
Mm-hmm.
I'll kind of let you know. Most of the people I've worked with are showgirls, so it brings a different audience. It really does. I think your porn stars, you have people that travel. They come in from other cities, other states. They get hotel rooms. They stay for the weekend, things like that. And a lot of times they are just there for that, to get that picture, to get that autograph or a
Mm-hmm.
picture with them. The showgirls, they lighten up the room a lot. They're fun. Most of
Mm-hmm.
them, as Jerry Westland said, when I interviewed him, when he books features, he says one of the biggest things that he looks for in a showgirl is somebody who's nice to his entertainers, to his house girls,
There you go.
because he always says, if I find out that you were rude to my house girls, I will never book you in any of my clubs. And he's got
Mm-hmm.
like 40 clubs, so
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's kind of another motivation. He tells them, these
Okay.
kinds of things. So, they are more for the entertainer, I think. The
Okay.
advantage to showgirls for a club is showgirls don't cost you anywhere near as much as adult film stars do,
Gotcha.
and things like that. So those are kind of the differences in there. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was when the show is over, your customers have two choices. It's kind of like when a band is done, people leave. They don't
Mm-hmm.
wait around. They leave. When the
Right.
when the main show is gone, they leave. So you have two choices. And I always say this when I'm running show for a feature, that the quicker you as a DJ can get that show going again, your normal show, because I've gone to clubs where they've taken 5 minutes to clean off the stage and
Mm-hmm.
reset this, and the DJ talks about what's going on, and I see people just pour out the door.
Oh yeah.
So, from a club standpoint, no matter who the feature is, you need to get that show going again quickly. And then you, as an entertainer, need to also realize this customer's got two choices. One, he can leave, or two, he can stick around and watch the show. Let me help him stick around by going up and talking to him and maybe seeing if he wants to go
Mm-hmm.
up and get a dance. But yeah, these clubs that take way too long, like a lot of the showgirls have messy shows. They
Mm-hmm.
use confetti cannons and
Oh
and
yeah.
body paint and all this other stuff that really really makes a mess. And my biggest thing that I've always said to managers and to floor staff if you have a feature that's going to make a mess, first of all, know what shows they're going to do. If they're going to make a mess, put plastic down, so it's easier to clean up.
Right.
But I always use the example of a NASCAR pit crew.
Hmm.
You sit there and you see these people go up and, oh, I guess I need a broom. Well, let's go back and get a broom. And
Yeah.
and you're down for 10 minutes, and that is where you lose a lot of your crowd.
Oh, yeah.
I always say, man, get 3 or 4 people ready, like a NASCAR pit crew. And as soon as that girl walks off the stage, bam, everybody jumps on. You get the confetti, you get this. You have a towel ready to wipe down, the stage, and so it's not slippery
Hmm.
for our next, house
Oh,
entertainer.
yeah. So then it's ready. The next girl can take the stage and hopefully keep the attention and keep the people in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
A lot of people ask, are features the same draw that they were back in? Everybody uses the back in the day thing. I hate that
Right.
term, but I'm going to bring it up anyway.
Yeah.
And I have been in the adult club business. I've been DJing since '75, but I've been in the adult club business since '96. And I will say that it's different, but I think it used to be more of a draw, but you had to market it differently. Now what you have to
Hmm.
do is you have to market it on social media,
Right.
and tell people that that feature is going to be there. But I think one of my first major features I ever worked with, it was at Diamonds, our home club. It was Jenna Jameson. I
Okay.
was a freaking nervous wreck. Okay, so I worked with Jenna, and all of a sudden she comes walking up in the DJ booth and stands next to me, and I'm like, wow, a little intimidated. This is the old DJ booth back where
Right.
nobody could see us.
Oh,
We
yeah.
really could barely see them. And
Hmm.
she stood next to me and she said, "I just really wanted to get a feel for what your room looks like. Do you mind if I stand here and watch?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm going to tell Jenna Jameson, no, you can't stand next
Right.
to me and watch." But I mean, back in those days, I remember that first time we opened our club, I think at 7 p.m. at the time. And at
Hmm.
7 p.m., there were 200 people in line ready to come in.
Wow.
So those days are gone. But when it comes to marketing these features, and things, best thing that I can say for you guys is tag them in your upcoming posts and things,
Hmm.
especially Twitter. I know a lot of people don't use Twitter a lot for house entertainers, but for
Hmm.
bringing in features, Twitter is it for celebrities. And if you get on Twitter and you say, hey, Bonnie Rotten's coming and I cannot wait to meet her, and you tag Bonnie Rotten in that. Now, Bonnie
Right.
Rotten being a good social media girl, she's going to go through that and go, oh, thank you, Jade. I can't wait to meet you either. And that way,
Hmm.
and meet you also. And that way, you've already started that connection. So when she comes in, you can say, hey, I'm Jade513. And we talked a little bit on Twitter. And that way, maybe when she's up there doing her show, if she kind of recognizes you, she might,
Hmm.
when they got, sometimes they pull girls up on stage or something to make a big deal.
Right.
You may be the selection for them to
Hmm.
pull up. But it's almost like, hey, Bonnie Rotten
Right.
wants you. So I can't really think of anything else. Do you? Do you have anything else on feature nights?
I don't. I definitely think we covered a lot of things, and I think it's definitely good that we brought up that it doesn't have to be a negative thing. I think if anything, bringing in a featured entertainer is fantastic. It's great for the club. It's great for the girls. It's great for social media recognition, just like you said. I think especially this day and age, social media is huge. So um, I think if there are any people coming in, they obviously have a huge following. So it's definitely why not use it to your advantage and um, make it positive.
Mm-hmm. And now, if we have talked some of the club owners into saying, hey, I think I want to have a feature performer now. I think I
Right.
do. And you go, well, where am I going to find a feature performer? I'm going to throw a good plug in for my good friend Frank Bain over at Continental Agency. You can
Okay.
just Google that, and he's the greatest. There's a lot of great agencies out there. There's Continental, there's A-List, there's Centerfold Features, there's oh my goodness, they're gonna kill me because I can't think of the other one right now. But there's quite a few out there. You can Google them. I personally, I like Frank because I think Frank and I get along real well, and I can call him on his cell and ask him any questions. He's a very thorough agent. So yeah,
That's
Frank
good.
Bain, you're welcome, buddy. Okay, well, Jade, I think we covered a lot. This is Strip Club Talk with Jade and Danny. we'll come up with another good topic for next week. But
Yeah.
I think this was a really good one, and I hope you guys follow us and share us, and hit the bell notification, all that stuff that's going across the bottom down there, and follow our individual YouTubes as well,
Yes.
and that way because we release these things together, and you can see them all, see all the channels. Jade, it's a pleasure.
Danny, as always.
Thank you.